Hello guys, welcome to my channel where stories filled with revenge, moral lessons and love are told. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. I was 32 when I finally felt the ground steady under my feet. For years, every paycheck I earned as a software engineer in Lagos had been divided with military precision rent, bills, transport, food, savings. I didn't come from a family that believed in cushioning me with money the way they did for my sister, Evelyn. No, I was the one expected to figure it out, to climb, to carry myself. And I did. Quietly. Patiently. While Evelyn stumbled from one unstable relationship to another, with my parents always ready to bail her out, I built myself piece by piece until the day came when I stood in front of a house that was mine. The house was modest but beautiful, tucked in a serene part of the city with mango trees lining the street and children riding bicycles in the evenings. I had dreamt of this for years, and now it was finally real. I signed the final documents with shaking hands, not from doubt but from joy, from disbelief. Yet when Clara, my real estate agent, smiled and said, "Congratulations, Marissa. I'm sure your parents will be so proud," something inside me hardened. Proud? No. They would find a way to criticize it, or worse, they would twist it into something about Evelyn. They always did. So I told Clara, "Please keep this between us. I'll decide when or if my parents know." She gave me a professional nod, but her eyes flickered with hesitation. Clara wasn't just my agent, she was related to my mother's cousin, and in my family, secrets never stayed secrets for long. That nagged at me, but I brushed it aside. At that moment, the only thing I wanted was to unlock my front door, step inside, and breathe the air of a place that belonged solely to me. The first nights there were surreal. I slept on a mattress on the floor because my furniture hadn't yet arrived, but I didn't care. I'd lie there listening to the hum of the ceiling fan, the distant laughter from a neighbor's yard, and I'd think, this is mine. Nobody could take it away. The independence wrapped around me like a warm blanket. I started to fill the house slowly, choosing curtains that reminded me of sunsets, setting up a small desk by the window where I could code in the morning light, and hanging one or two photos that I loved. I didn't tell a soul in my family. Whenever I visited my parents, I kept my face neutral, never hinting at what I had done. My mother, Ruth, was sharp. If she suspected even a flicker of excitement in me, she would press until she uncovered the truth. And once she knew, the whole family would know, including Evelyn, and I wasn't ready for that chaos. For the first time in my life, I wanted something untouched by their interference. But secrets are fragile things. One evening, as I was watering the little hibiscus plant I had placed by the gate, I noticed a familiar car parked across the street. My father's old Toyota. My stomach dropped. He wasn't supposed to know. He wasn't supposed to be here. The next day Clara called me, her voice strained, and confessed. "I didn't mean to cause trouble, Marissa, but when your parents asked me if I'd handled any sales in this area, I couldn't lie. I told them about your house." My chest burned. Betrayal has a taste, it's metallic, like biting your tongue. "You had one job," I hissed into the phone. "I trusted you." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought they'd be happy for you." Happy. That word again. My parents' happiness had always been selective. It flowed easily toward Evelyn, never toward me. And now, because Clara had opened her mouth, my sanctuary was exposed. I knew what would come next. Questions. Opinions. Demands. I was right. 2 days later, I came home from work to find my gate slightly ajar. My heart raced as I pushed it open and saw my mother and father standing on the porch, rattling a set of keys that weren't theirs. Evelyn was with them, holding her toddler son, her husband lingering nearby with a smug grin. "Surprise," my mother announced, as though this were some joyous family reunion. "We thought we'd help you settle in. We even considered changing the locks so we could keep a spare. You know, for emergencies." The audacity nearly knocked the breath out of me. I forced my voice steady. "How did you even get in here?" "We know Clara," my father said, as if that explained everything. "She told us where the keys were left for the cleaners. And besides, Marissa, you should have told us about this. This house belonged to your grandparents once. Did you know that?" It was sold years ago to help Evelyn through a difficult time. We always dreamed it would come back into the family for her children. It's fitting, don't you think? Fitting. The word echoed like poison. So that was it. They weren't here to celebrate with me. They were here to lay claim, to rewrite my achievement as Evelyn's entitlement. I felt a surge of heat rise from my chest to my throat. This is my house, I said slowly, each word sharp as glass. I paid for it. Not you. Not Evelyn. Me. And none of you have any right to step foot here without my permission. Evelyn scoffed, bouncing her child on her hip. Oh, come on, Marissa. Don't be selfish. You're single. You don't need all this space. My family could use it so much more. We've been struggling, and you know it. What kind of sister keeps something like this from her own blood? Her words stabbed, but I refused to flinch. Years of being overlooked. Years of watching my parents pour money and attention into Evelyn while telling me to manage, had built a wall inside me. And that wall was solid now. You've taken enough from me, I said, my voice trembling but unbroken. This house isn't yours. It never will be. My parents exchanged glances. Disappointment etched across their faces as if I had betrayed them. But in truth, it was they who had betrayed me again and again, choosing Evelyn, excusing her, demanding that I shrink so she could expand. That night, after they finally left in a storm of angry words and guilt-laden sighs, I sat in my empty living room, the shadows stretching long across the walls. Fear tried to creep in, fear that they would come back, that they would try again, but beneath the fear was a stronger current. Resolve. This was my house, my life, and for once, I wasn't going to let them take it from me. The morning after that confrontation, I woke up to the sound of loud knocking. It wasn't the polite kind. It was insistent, like a battering ram trying to crack open my peace. I rushed to the door, heart pounding, and when I pulled it open, there they were again, my parents and Evelyn, this time without smiles or pretense. Evelyn's husband, Colin, stood behind them with a folded document in his hand like he had already won some battle I hadn't agreed to fight. My mother's voice was sharp. Marissa, enough is enough. This secrecy, this selfishness, it has to stop. You know your grandparents always wanted this property to stay in the family. We've decided the best thing is for Evelyn's family to move in. You can find somewhere else. I stood frozen, blinking in disbelief. My mother spoke with such authority, as if my own name wasn't on the deed. My father avoided my eyes, but I could see the weight of his silence. He wasn't going to fight for me. He never had. Evelyn stepped forward, her son clinging to her hip. We're already packed. This house is big enough for us. You don't even have proper furniture yet. Why should you keep it empty when we can actually use it? Her words dripped with entitlement. The paper in Colin's hand rustled as he waved it slightly. We've already spoken to someone about transferring the utilities. All we need is your agreement. Agreement. The gall. My throat tightened, but I pushed the words out. You can't just take my house. I bought this. With my own money. You had nothing to do with it. Evelyn rolled her eyes. You always think you're above us because you have a job in tech. Well, not everything is about money, Marissa. Family matters too. And right now my family needs this house more than you do. My father finally spoke, his voice low. Marissa, try to understand. Evelyn has children. You're alone. This place is wasted on you. That word wasted hit me harder than I expected. Years of achievements, of late nights working, of saving when no one else cared, and now my life was reduced to being wasted, because I didn't have a husband or children. I felt something snap inside me. You have no right, I said, my voice shaking but louder now. Not you, not Evelyn, not anyone. This house is mine. And if you try to take it from me, I will fight you every step of the way. The tension escalated so quickly that it felt like the air itself was brittle, ready to shatter. My mother's face hardened. Don't threaten us, Marissa. We raised you. We sacrificed for you. The least you can do is think of your sister. I laughed bitterly, a sound that startled even me. Sacrificed for me? You never had to bail me out. You never paid my rent. You never rescued me from one bad decision after another. Everything I have, I worked for myself. Meanwhile, Evelyn. Stop. Evelyn snapped, her cheeks red. I won't let you disrespect me. I've had my struggles, yes, but that doesn't make me less deserving. Her husband stepped closer, his tone menacing. Look, Marissa, you can either make this easy or hard. You know the family's on our side. If you want to cut yourself off from everyone, fine. But don't expect them to choose you over Evelyn. The implication was clear. Isolation. Abandonment. And for a moment the child in me, the one who had grown up craving approval, felt the familiar sting of rejection. But adulthood had forged something tougher in me. I wasn't that child anymore. Leave, I said firmly, pointing to the door. Get out of my house. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by Evelyn's toddler fussing. My parents stared at me as though I had become a stranger. My mother muttered under her breath about ungrateful daughters, while Evelyn clutched her child tighter, her face twisted in rage. But eventually they left. The second the door shut, I collapsed against it, my whole body trembling. I knew this wasn't over. They weren't the type to give up. I had to be prepared. I spent the next week consulting a lawyer. He assured me that legally, I was untouchable. The deed was ironclad. They can't take this house unless you sell it to them, he said calmly. But I also knew my family. They didn't need legal rights to wreak havoc. They thrived on pressure, on manipulation, on guilt. So I took extra steps. I installed a security system, cameras at every angle. I changed the locks again, this time with smart technology they couldn't bypass. Still, the confrontations didn't stop. Evelyn began showing up unannounced, sometimes banging on the gate until the neighbors stared. My parents called endlessly, leaving voicemails dripping with disappointment. You're tearing this family apart, my mother accused in one message. My father's voice in another. Marissa, this stubbornness will come back to haunt you. The worst was when Evelyn cornered me after work. She waited by my car, her eyes wild. You're ruining my life, she spat. Do you even care about your nephew? He deserves stability. You're too selfish to see that. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to breathe. What he deserves is a mother who takes responsibility. This isn't about me. This is about you refusing to grow up. Her slap came so fast I barely saw it. My cheek burned, but I didn't cry. I just stared at her, and for the first time, she looked uncertain. Maybe it was because I didn't retaliate, or maybe it was because she realized I wasn't bending this time. She stormed off, muttering curses under her breath. That night, I sat in my house, my fortress, and felt both fragile and fierce. My family had made me the villain for choosing myself, but I knew deep down that if I surrendered now, I'd lose more than a house. I'd lose my dignity, my independence, the very core of who I was. The battle lines were drawn. They had tried intrusion, guilt, even violence. But I had something they never expected. Resolve forged in years of being the forgotten child. And this time I would not break. The weeks after Evelyn's slap were the heaviest of my life. My cheek had healed quickly, but the scar it left inside me felt raw and jagged. Every ring of my phone, every knock at my door, carried a tension that tied my stomach in knots. My parents hadn't spoken to me since the last explosion, except for curt, guilt-laced voicemails. Evelyn had gone silent, but I knew silence in my family didn't mean peace. It meant they were regrouping, scheming another way to bend me. But I wasn't going to wait for their next move. I doubled down. My lawyer drafted a letter formally warning my family against harassment. I filed a report about Clara's betrayal to her real estate agency, detailing how she had disclosed private information against my explicit wishes. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. She had set fire to my privacy, and I wanted accountability. When the notice reached Clara, she called me in tears. Marissa, please don't destroy my career over this. I didn't mean any harm. Her voice trembled with desperation, but I didn't soften. You didn't mean harm, but you caused it. You opened the door for my parents to invade my home, and now my life is in chaos. Actions have consequences. Hanging up on her was harder than I expected, but necessary. I was learning that protecting my peace sometimes meant not cushioning other people from the weight of their choices. I also fortified my house. A new steel gate replaced the flimsy one my father had pried open. I hired a locksmith to install biometric locks that only recognized my fingerprints. A network of cameras linked to my phone let me watch every corner, every shadow. For the first time, I could breathe at night without jolting awake at every sound. Still, my parents tried subtle tactics. They sent relatives, an aunt here, a cousin there who arrived at my door carrying messages wrapped in guilt. Your mother hasn't been sleeping, one said. Your father says this family is breaking apart. Another leaned in with pity. You know Evelyn needs you. Her boy needs stability. You're strong, Marissa. Can't you share just a little? I listened, nodded politely, and closed the door each time. Because I finally understood. Sharing wasn't the issue. Control was. If I gave an inch, they would take my whole life, and I had worked too long and too hard to let them. The distance between us grew. Holidays passed with empty seats at the table. Family group chats lit up without my name. At first, the loneliness was sharp, like being exiled. But over time, that loneliness shifted into something else. Freedom. Without their constant interference, I began to rediscover myself. I planted a small garden in the backyard, watching hibiscus and bougainvillea bloom under my care. I cooked in my kitchen, filling the air with the scents of dishes I loved without criticism over whether they were too much or too little. I woke up every morning in silence and it was glorious. Then, 6 months later, the unexpected happened. My father called. His voice was softer than I remembered. Marissa, he said, pausing as though each word cost him effort. We need to talk. I braced myself for manipulation, but when we met at a small cafe near his office, he looked tired, older. He stirred his tea slowly before speaking. I was wrong, he admitted quietly. The house, it's yours. I shouldn't have let your mother push so hard, or Evelyn. You worked for it, and you deserve it. Hearing those words from him was surreal. My father wasn't a man who apologized. But there it was, fragile, imperfect, yet real. I didn't melt into forgiveness instantly, but I nodded, feeling a crack open in the wall I had built. Weeks later, my mother reached out. She came to my house alone, her hands trembling as she held a small box of old photographs. These were your grandparents, she said softly. I want you to have them. Maybe I didn't see how much you've sacrificed, Marissa. Maybe I pushed too hard for Evelyn. I didn't want to lose her, and in trying to save her, I neglected you. Her eyes shimmered with tears I never thought I'd see. And for the first time, I believed she was trying in her flawed way to mend what she had broken. The reconciliation was slow, careful. We didn't erase the past with one hug. But the silence between us softened, and conversations began to flow again, not about demands, but about small things, shared memories, cautious laughter. Evelyn kept her distance at first, pride wrapping her like armor. But one evening, out of the blue, she showed up at my door holding a pie she'd baked. She stood awkwardly, shifting from foot to foot before blurting, I overstepped. I wanted what you had without earning it. I'm sorry. I stared at her, torn between disbelief and relief. Thank you, I said simply. It wasn't full forgiveness, not yet, but it was the first olive branch we had ever exchanged in honesty. 6 months after the storm first broke, I decided to host a gathering. Not a grand event, just dinner at my house. My parents came, quieter, more respectful. Evelyn brought her son, who ran through my halls with laughter that, for once, didn't feel invasive. I looked around the table that night and felt something unexpected, not victory, but peace. My house no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like home, truly mine, and now a place where healing could also live. As I cleared the dishes later, I realized something profound. Boundaries had not destroyed my family. They had reshaped it. By standing firm, by saying no, I had forced everyone, including myself, to see the truth. And in that truth, painful as it was, lay the first fragile steps towards something healthier. I stood at my window, watching the mango trees sway in the evening breeze, and I whispered to myself, I protected my peace. And that made all the difference. Moral lesson. When I look back at this journey, I see more than a battle over a house. I see the story of reclaiming my voice in a family that had taught me to shrink. To anyone listening who has been overlooked, pushed aside, or told that their dreams are less important than someone else's, please hear me. You are not selfish for protecting what you've earned. You are not cruel for setting boundaries that keep your spirit safe. A home is not just walls and a roof. It is the space where your soul can rest, and you deserve that rest. Life will test your courage with those closest to you. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to stand even when fear is whispering in your ear. And when you stand, when you guard the life you've built, you discover something unshakable inside yourself. So take this story with you. Let it remind you that peace is worth fighting for, that family love must never mean self-erasure, and that forgiveness can grow even in the soil of conflict if truth waters it first. Hello guys, thank you for listening to my story. If you find meaning in it, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. And please drop a comment with your own perspective or the lesson you've taken. Your voice matters here.